Hi guys, this is Gabby. Welcome to another episode of the Con Gusto podcast. With me we have my co-host Javier Sanchez, and today our interviewee will be Danny Reyes. How are you guys doing?
Doing well. Kind of a tough week, but yeah, doing well.
Same, doing well. It's been a very long week. I'm excited. That's the weekend, but other than that, great. Except for the earthquake. There was an earthquake last night.
There's everything going on right now.
Yeah.
So Danny, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Cool. Yeah. So my name is Danny Reyes. I'm 24 years old. I live in Los Angeles, California, and I am the head agent of Natural Models LA. We are an agency based here in Los Angeles. We originally started out kind of as a curve agency. We're very much the go-to for curve. And recently we have expanded in the past 1 to 2 years to include a new terminology called street size. So sizes kind of like 6 through 10, and now we represent actually sizes 2 all the way up to 22 as of now. So very wide range of sizes that we represent, and we're based here in LA, and that's kind of a little bit about what I do.
Were you one of the first people at your agency?
No, so we've actually been open as an agent. This is actually our 10-year anniversary this summer. I believe it was like around July. We've completed 10 years as an agency, which is amazing. There have been, I want to say maybe from like 3 to 5 bookers before me. And it's definitely grown over the years. So yeah, I'm not the first booker. I'm just the current one. But I love what I do. We just recently as well, which is crazy because we're in a pandemic, but we're actually the busiest like we've ever been in like the history of the agency. So we've brought on another agent as well during this time, and she has experience already. So I'm going to be working really closely with her and just kind of getting a handle on all the crazy things coming in.
I think for everybody, like, I think people are valuing like these experiences and doing much more. So I feel like even myself and like working in like a more private industry, it's been so busy work. Like it's pretty hectic now.
It's so weird. Like, I mean, granted, we were very busy. Like, and this just has been our busiest year in general. I think last year we had a lot of amazing accomplishments as an agency. And I think that we've really gotten the industry's attention. So now like there's just more and more clients reaching out, and just like, I don't know, there's just so much going on with like what we're doing. And then as well, like you said, not just, this side, but kind of a lot of things are busy, even though we're in a pandemic. It's weird to me.
So I have a quick question, Danny. So with the modeling industry, typically you interview, talent, right, face to face before COVID, right? And how has generally the whole industry kind of pivoted to like now Zoom and bookings and things like that rather than in-person engagements?
It's definitely, there's been a lot of shifts. So I mean, first thing, obviously, yeah, like you said, normally if we weren't in a pandemic, the process would be, we either scout someone online, we email back and forth and invite them in for a meeting if we're interested, or if they submit to us as well, we're emailing back and forth, getting details, like if they're based here in LA or if they're, close enough, like San Diego or I don't know, Camarillo, something like that. Like hopefully the goal is to meet them in person. but obviously because of the pandemic, we're currently not doing in-person meetings. But we've shifted a lot to FaceTime and Zoom meetings. However, because we scout all over the US, like that's something that we've already kind of done in the past. Like I've met a lot of models actually via FaceTime in place of an in-person meeting because they're just like not in LA or not in California. So it's not like a weird process. It's just like the amount, like now that's the new normal. So I'm only meeting people that way. Um, and it's very different, but you know, for us, like personally as an agency, we are very much all about a vibe. I know it's really weird, but the owners, they are very like spiritual and like they have crystals everywhere. So like even if like someone is, let's say, you know, a beautiful person, like we see so much potential, but we get like a weird vibe, like we just don't feel like it's gonna work, like it just we probably won't bring
Yeah.
that person on.
I
But
feel it. Yeah.
that's why we obviously prefer to meet people in person, because I feel like you can really pick up on like their vibe or their energy. But I feel like, you know, through FaceTime and Zoom you still get an idea of, you know, it's, yeah. So that's what's happening as well. Like for bookings, a lot of casting has been now via Zoom, as well as something that has been normal for the industry a while is like what we call casting videos. So models, you know, introducing themselves, giving the client a little bit like a bio, kind of a 360 turn, just showing them kind of like their body, their face, and you know, depending on who the client is, maybe they'll like want personality, so they'll do like a little bit like of a dancing, like quick little thing in the casting video. So that, you know, that's been something we've been doing, just like now, again, that's the new normal. It's more casting videos, it's more Zoom calls. There have been some clients that are seeing models in person, but not like before. Like we were doing so many more castings, and now it's a lot of also direct bookings, which I find interesting. Yeah, they book, like I said, off the casting videos or digitals. So it's shifted in that sense, because before, like, you really did have to show up to a casting to get booked, and now, you know, with the appropriate digitals and video, clients are booking girls directly and kind of foregoing casting altogether. So it's something that's gradually shifting. As well, clients have become really creative during this time. So some clients have, in lieu of a shoot, maybe done a social collaboration instead, because of the power of social media, and especially at the beginning of the pandemic, I think everyone was just glued to their phones. So, and especially Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, you know, whatever your jazz is, like if you follow some of these influencers or people with high following, like that was kind of like a great opportunity to like invest your money in that, versus, because, you know, they couldn't produce shoots at that time. So that's what was happening. There's still a lot of social collaborations going on, but as well, clients are doing what they call like at-home shoots. So sending models either the product or the clothing pieces they need to shoot, and kind of having the model do it themselves, and they'll give them a detailed brief and that sort of stuff. So
I
like I said, there's been a lot of creativity.
Yeah, I also saw like Parade, which is like one of my favorite underwear brands right now.
Yeah.
They were sending like underwear to these influencers, and then they were doing like a photo shoot on like the photo booth, which was
Yeah.
interesting.
And I don't know if you saw Savage X Fenty's summer campaign. That was all shot via Zoom as well. So they sent, I mean, that's actually another topic, is the Zoom shoots. I had a girl do a whole beauty shoot via Zoom, and then like I said, Savage X Fenty did their summer campaign via Zoom, and they just kind of, it was really interesting. Like they sent the model the product, and then they edited the background to make it look like they were like at the beach. And it was really cool. I mean, yeah, clients are forced to get very creative right now, while while we're in this.
I mean, to me, I feel like it seems like it would help, like, especially like because we're not all in, like, we can't do like a trip to all these islands and, you know, pose, but something like that is so realistic that it's like, oh yeah, like I could relate to that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's actually to their benefit.
Do you think that this will be permanent? This type of creativeness with like now using Zoom and Zoom shoots and sending product to talent for their own to do their own content or the creative strategies?
That's such a like hard, it's hard to say, to be honest. I don't see it becoming permanent, only because I feel like, just also depending where the brand is post, when things are quote the new normal. It just depends like where they're at, same budget as normal, because obviously a full production is a lot more expensive than sending one person product and just paying that one person. So, but I think, obviously there is a lot more of like the quality in the full production, which clients want to achieve, and what I think a lot of the people in this industry are missing, is like the fun of the shoot and stuff like that. So I do, and like a lot of clients have gone back to shooting production here in LA. So I don't like, I think clients are eager to kind of get back there. So I don't see it being the new normal personally, but so, like I think there's definitely maybe some that will kind of be like, whoa, wait, like I don't have to like pay a makeup artist or a hair artist or a whole crew and like rent out a studio or et cetera, et cetera. Like I can just kind of allocate a little bit more budget into this at home creation. And but like at the end of the day, they're still saving money versus, like I said, the full production, because I don't think people realize, I didn't even realize, like, oh, a lot of shoots, like there are so many people on set. There's, creative director, photographer assistant, stylist, styling assistant.
Oh yeah,
like,
me and Javi both used to be stylists, and
it's
that took a lot of work.
I didn't realize, like, before getting into this industry, like, you just don't know. Like, you're just like, oh, it's just like a photographer and a model, and they just do their thing. But like, no, when I get the call sheets and there's like, so many people, pre-COVID, of course. I mean, now it just depends on the production, but like, I think again, like clients have shifted as well. Like, okay, well, we're gonna like really like eliminate as many people as possible, which has its pros and its cons. Obviously in the pandemic, it's ideal for the people that are still on set, but it could be hurting a lot of people that usually would have a job that are now being like kind of cut out of the equation because they need to limit the number of people on set. So it's not it's not fun for everyone.
And I read somewhere, I think I was on a fashion trade publication, that the pandemic or the COVID shutdown, the implications of like a lost, I guess, generation or something of like, young people coming into the industry, into, the fashion industry, the beauty industry and whatnot, is like enormous, because like what you just said, pre-COVID, you would have all these, assistants and stylists and whatnot. They were all part of that team, but also you gain a lot of like practical experience that you can put on your CV, or you can, just gain on your belt. And now they've just been kind of like cut off, and that, really hinders, especially Latinx, creatives in the space.
No, I definitely agree. Like, I do feel that if you weren't like kind of already in the industry and in the juggle of things, it's a hard time to break into it right now. Like, it really, even you know, obviously like I do with the model side, even for some of the models, luckily, like I said, there is still a lot of production going on in LA, but even with clients, like clients will be like, well, we've booked these same girls, so like I'm gonna keep booking these girls so I don't have to bring new people into the studio that we're not familiar in. The logic doesn't make sense to me too much, because I'm like, well, these same girls you book all the time as well could have COVID. Like, I don't know, but like in their minds it makes sense. Well, I'm using the same people as always, so like I'm not bringing new people in, so like essentially they feel safer that way. I don't understand it, but like that's kind of also what's happening, is like clients are sticking to the same models they've used, and limiting like the amount of newer talent they're bringing in. But that I would say that's primarily like for e-commerce. There is like a wave of new faces going on as well. So it's like, again, it really depends on the client. But I totally agree with what you're saying, Javi. Like it's a weird time to like try to get into, I mean, almost any industry right now. Like it's weird.
Mm. But, have you, I mean, I understand the e-commerce part for continuity, but do you think that maybe it's like for outward appearance, like using the same models, saying like, oh, but we're only shooting like that, so it kind of like, in a sense, looks like to, people buying from you, right? Oh, they're being very responsible, they're only using the same model. They probably shot everything in the same day, the same 2 days. So they're being really cautious. So, how it looks to consumers as well. That might be taking play.
I mean, absolutely. I actually didn't really think of that, but that's a very good point. I think, yeah, it's like if you do use kind of the same models, and because, we're always a little bit ahead when it comes to fashion. Like right now we're shooting holiday, and now we're going to be shooting spring very soon. So it's like, you don't really know when things are shot. There's, like big campaigns that are shot months and months in advance. So, I mean, yeah, I think that's a very valid point to say like, yeah, well, oh, like who knows when they shot that, or like, yeah, they shot it on the same day, or etc.
They're being really cautious.
Yeah, exactly.
Ooh, they're tricking us. They're tricking us. I was thinking about this because I saw this brand. They're expanding their sizes. So have you noticed, like when booking your models, that there's these brands that weren't very inclusive in the last couple of years, and within the last year or so, with, Katie Storino making that like "make my size" hashtag and movement. Have you noticed that certain brands are like now expanding their sizes? Not very inclusive, but they're still expanding their sizes. Have you guys started to work with any brands like that you've noticed are making a change?
Yeah, absolutely. I think like it's something that's been ongoing for the past like, I want to say decade, if not more. Like, slowly, obviously, I feel like in the last like 2 to 3 years, it's just like totally boomed. Like the curve industry has just changed. I think, before there was very limited space for curve girls in fashion, and like even limited space, as well as like limited brands using curve girls. So again, they were just using the same ones, and then everyone kind of started expanding their size range, which is amazing. And like from athleisure to swim, beauty was something that was never like accessible for curve. It wasn't a space curve girls were invited into, which is ridiculous, because I think beauty is so like, it's such a universal like industry. But yeah, so I would say like, especially in the past 2 years, brand, like Anthropology has added size ranges, and Urban Outfitters, and then Savage X Fenty launched a very inclusive size range. I believe they launched like 2 or 3 years ago. So like there's been a lot of either adding sizes to existing brands and then like newer brands just launching and kind of changing the game for us all.
Maybe I'm more into that, like the newer brands and giving them a chance. Maybe that's just because I hold some like maybe like some hurt in my heart because I saw this week that Lululemon was extending their sizes to like a size 20, and like I guess like I read that some of the people were like upset that bigger girls are going to be wearing their sizes even though they only expanded up 3 sizes. And they're like, you guys all criticize curvy girls or uh the body positive movement, and yet you're all against like activewear being made for bigger girls. So are you ever going to be happy? And so sometimes I'm like, okay, well, do I want to go and buy, a pair of Lululemon leggings when like, are they doing it because of all this pressure and not because they actually want to be inclusive?
I mean, that is like the number one question I ask myself all the time. I think with that, it's like such a double-edged sword for me. Because yeah, I do like not just Lululemon, but like, so many brands that they kind of just jump on the train,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I mean, even not just size, but even like race with like Black Lives Matter. And
oh gosh, yeah.
that happened over the summer. Like it was it was in such a corny way.
Diet Prada was spilling all the tea and I was like, oh my gosh, can I trust anybody?
Right? But like also, I mean, I guess like the way I see it is like, well, I mean, at least if anything good comes out of it, at least these, there is like finally curvy people or Black people or people of color kind of joining in this like profit that they're making off all of us. And I'm like, I don't know, it's a weird, it's definitely like such a complex conversation, but I'm like, okay, well, like, are they paying, these models fairly, or, are they like with, when everything happened over the summer of like the LA riots and stuff, brands were so like, oh my God, like we want women of color and all our campaigns and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, this is like, it's obviously so tokenism, but at the end of the day, these women of color that didn't get these opportunities before are finally getting a chance, and they're getting paid, they're getting their bag. And then also because also like within the modeling industry, it opened a big conversation of the hair and makeup side of things, where there's never proper hair artists that can do all textures or makeup artists that can do all tones. So it also put pressure on brands to invite, Black women or Black creatives into these spaces because there was a need for it. And like, it's been something that obviously we've been asking for forever, but like they finally felt the pressure. And I'm like, okay, well, at least like if these creatives that have been fighting for this are like getting a chance now, like regardless of the corniness and the tokenism, like it's still a win slightly for me in that sense. But
yeah, you have to view it as like as an example that maybe like every American can understand. Like when you fill out an application and you put your race, right? Like, yeah, do I want to write that like I'm Hispanic, Latino, I like check that box? But it's like, fuck it, if that's gonna help me get the job, then that job is mine.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, well, like, and a lot of, these people are more than qualified and they deserve it too. So I'm like, well,
yeah.
like, yeah, they should have been getting the job, but also like, well, now the goal is that these companies will keep them on and not just use it as like a politic moment in their brand, that's
Mm-hmm.
my hope. It's a little bit optimistic and maybe even a little bit naive, but I'm trying to look at like the better picture, because it is like just such a complex.
No, that's something that me and Javi have to keep considering when, as we talk about like moving forward, we definitely want to consult with brands who want to diversify, but we're like, we have to do it in a way where they're not just doing it like for publicity or to look good, but people that actually want to make a change. And sometimes you have to look at, and because there's all these things on social media where they're being criticized, and it's like, okay, are they doing this? They're diversifying for this and this reason. But sometimes you just have to take it, even if it's a slight win, to move move that line forward, even if it's like a millimeter. You have to.
That's kind of what I think. And however, like for me, there are a few brands that I'm like, ugh, like you've gone too far for me. Like,
should we name them?
I'll name one for me. Victoria's Secret.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. We don't care. We don't care.
Like you've said what you've said, and you said it boldly, and yeah, like I think when you like, I don't know, there's also a difference of like just seeing the lack of diversity or whatever, but like when like the CEO is making these bold statements of like really what their company represents, then you can't really like get around that, I think.
That's why I won't shop at Hobby Lobby.
Yeah. So that's one brand for me that I'm like, look, I don't know, it's a little bit past.
It's done. And you have Savage X. There's no need.
There's
obsolete.
Rihanna, I love her so much, what she's doing. I'm so excited to watch. Have y'all seen volume 2 of her amazing show coming out soon?
I have not.
On Amazon. She just released like a teaser yesterday.
Oh, is it Guava Island?
No, so Guava Island was
with Danny
Gambino.
Yeah.
Donald Glover.
Yeah, Daniel Glover.
No, that one was amazing. So during Fashion Week last year, she did obviously a huge presentation and during New York Fashion Week, and it was obviously Fashion Week is like more like runway, but her show was like much more than a runway. It was like a concert. It was like,
there was like publicity all over about it, and it was like the death of Victoria's Secret when that show happened. That was it. It was done.
Yes, so she did that last year, and they turned that show, it was a very exclusive show, like you couldn't bring your cell phones in, like they made you put your cell phone in a box and that kind of stuff if you were invited. And they made it into an Amazon show. So that was last year. This year she's doing basically part 2. She's done it again, and I mean it's all over the news because she just released her teaser yesterday, so everyone's like, she's just so groundbreaking in everything she does. So I'm like so excited to see it. And we have 2 girls from our agency that are participating in the show, so I'm really, really excited about that as well.
Yeah, I was scrolling through Natural Models LA, and what I've noticed from you guys versus other Curve, like Wilhelmina Curve, or that's the only one I can think of, because a lot of the girls I follow aren't there. They have like these perfect bodies that even though they're curvy, they're still perfect. Yeah. And I was looking through your girls, which they're beautiful and perfect for me, because like I feel so welcomed, and I went straight through your plus size section, and I was like, before I interview this man. No, do all the girls look perfect? Do they look like airbrush? Do they look like they're curvy but they have no lonjas, no panzas? Like, are they so smooth that I'm like, you just got big bones? And I was looking through specifically the pluses. They're still also beautiful. But like you can see, like, they're wearing workout leggings and there's still like a little lonja there, and I'm like, that's real, because like that's how I look.
Yeah, and that's literally, I really thank you for saying that, because that's our goal. And I think like very much.
I mean, their faces are still so pretty. I'm like, I'd like to see a double chin there, but like you could see like when you look at their portfolios, like obviously the photographers are doing their job to try to make you look as goddess-like as possible.
Yeah.
Not saying that if you have a double chin, you're not a goddess. I'm a goddess. I always have a double chin no matter what pose I do.
So do I.
But
no, honestly, I mean, as well, like, so just a little bit, you know, about the agency. The owners are named Katie and Bradford Wilcox. They're a married couple, and Katie was a former model. She actually still does modeling, but she's been modeling since she was 17, and she went through a lot of shit with her agencies throughout the years, because at that time Curve wasn't too big either. So it was kind of like, well, you need to lose inches, or like you're kind of an in-between size, so you need to gain weight, or you need to gain inches to fit this, you know, this measurement.
It's all catalog, right?
Yes,
Probably.
to sell size, you know, I think for Curve, when I think of Curve back in the day, it was like size like 12, 14, and maybe 16. Like those were the three.
Maybe 10.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, they wanted 12s, but like it was size 10 girls that they were like telling. So like that's again, like Katie, she was kind of more of like a 10, but they wanted her to be a 12 to like fit that mold.
Yeah.
Sell. And she was just kind of like I don't, for me, like that's not where her body was, you know. Like I feel like she felt pressured like on both sides, either like, well, okay, well, you're in a weird size right now, so like you either need to like go down drastically, or you need to go up a little. Like this size is not okay. And she was just like, but like literally, you know, this is my size, like that my hip is this size, which in Curve, like a hip measurement is like the be all end all. It's so weird, but like, you know, her hip was just bigger than the average American woman, but it still wasn't like a full, you know, 14 or something like that. So she was always in the in-between size, and she was like, she felt like she had an unhealthy relationship with her body, because she was constantly being told to change her body. So that's kind of the idea behind natural, is because like there, you know, there are so many sizes around the world, just in general. Like some people are just naturally skinnier, some people are naturally a size 10, some people are naturally a size 16. Like, so her idea was like, well, if I can create an agency where women can just kind of be whatever size they naturally are and whatever size they want to be, and they don't have to feel pressure to either go down or go up, like that's the idea of natural, is like to have just like this, you know, healthy relationship with your body. And health is also something that I feel is very complex. It's very personal. So like with natural, like we don't tell anyone to lose or gain weight. Our job is to get models work at whatever size they are in this moment.
I mean, like I think that's a big thing in the industry, where they tell people like how much you should weigh or how much, but even like the reality of like young girls, like are between watching, like I just listened to a podcast with Jamila Jamil, and she was being interviewed about her like I Weigh podcast / Instagram, and then watching like The Social Dilemma, like reading all of that. It just kind of like awakens you to something like that. And you know, I've never shared this, you know, I'm a size 16. I always felt horrible saying that, especially being, you know, a runner through high school, a runner in college. No matter what I did, like I could never lose weight. Even now, like you know, I love weightlifting, always running, because I should love running, right? Because to lose weight. But I will never, ever, no matter what I do, like at 140, I looked anorexic. And so that was impossible for me. And 140 is, you know, not even a healthy weight for my size. But, you know, I encourage everybody, like, how you feel good. And I'm so glad, like, to be interviewing somebody like you, Danny, that, you know, isn't going to say, well, you need to eat this much and this much because you don't fit this mold. Because, you know, what does health look like?
it looks so different on everybody, and that's what like natural is about. Is like, well, health is a spectrum, just like race, just like gender. Like health is a spectrum, and it's gonna look, you know, different on you. It's gonna look different on me. And there's so much more to health. There's also mental health, physical health, emotional health. So that's why I say it's so complex, and everything is kind of like interconnected. But you know, like, because again, when Katie was being told to lose or gain weight, like that fucked up her mental health for a bit, you know, like that's traumatizing for a 17-year-old girl to be told that. And you know, so that was kind of the idea, to really embrace like just kind of being, again, natural. Like where do you fit naturally? And again, people are going to go up and down, you know, during the holidays. I think we all put on a little bit more with the tamales season coming around, and that
my God, menudo, tamales, everything my mother
like,
can think
you know,
of.
it's just, again, like, but if you can just find like where you feel good, you feel happy, like you know, and you don't feel pressure to change, like that's the goal of natural, is for young women, young girls to look up to these models of all sizes and say, hey, like she looks like me, like I don't have to change who I am either, because look at this model thriving and like doing these amazing things, and she's a similar size to me. And again, for all sizes, because, you know, before it was like size 02 was straight size, and then size 14, 16 was curve. And there was a very big gap in between. And even on the other side of like 18 plus. So that's where
the old
like
ladies 18 plus a couple of years ago.
Yeah, there was no, I mean, and also, I mean, I think it's worth noting, like, as well, a lot of the big models that happen are like big in terms of stardom, like are white women, you know.
That's the next thing I was gonna get at, because looking through natural models, I'm like, I don't see a white lady here.
It's funny, we actually, you know, looked when, you know, everything was going on with the riots.
I see one right now.
The modeling industry was kind of being called out because there is a lack of diversity. For the record, we do have white models on our board.
I'm just on plus. I'm sorry. I'm just on plus.
I will say that our agency, I think, is predominantly women of color, and our top earners are all women of color. So that's very interesting. But I mean, as well, like, it's just, I don't know. It's a weird conversation. But it's worth noting that, like, that's where the industry's going, is like giving curvy women of color these opportunities. And one thing I wanted to talk about as well, I don't know if y'all got to see, but we actually, it was a first for Natural, it was a first for me, but we booked the September issue of Vogue Mexico. It was
did not.
Wow, congratulations.
Congratulations.
And
Matthew, add applause there.
And it was Vanessa Romo, she's a fellow plus size Chicana and Latina, and she killed it. It was her first Vogue cover, and it happened in a pandemic. She's actually my best friend.
I know, we know. You talk about her all the time.
Everyone knows, yeah, she's the apple of my eye, whatever. But it was just such, for me, like a historic moment in my life, to be honest, like to see my best friend, someone that, I say this all the time, like I look at her in every campaign she does, and like I've never felt more represented than by looking at her. Like I joke, because whenever we go out, people think we're siblings. So I'm always like, yeah,
Gladly.
we're sisters. But she's like, girl, what are you talking about? But,
like, just go along with it.
Right? She's like not wanting to fulfill my dream. But no, like,
we're twins, okay? Twins.
Literally. So just seeing that, I was like, wow, like this is so powerful. Someone, again, from our agency, she grew up in Whittier here in LA, and it just, I don't know, like she obviously never thought she would reach that. And also September is like
the
the
biggest
month.
issue,
Yes.
the month, the fat stack.
Yes. So it was just like, also, I mean, there's you don't see curvy girls on the cover of Vogue. Like that's not something heard of.
We saw Ashley Graham once, not a September issue, and I was like, "There's a million of other girls around you."
Yes, exactly. I mean, and don't get me wrong, I love Ashley. I really do think she's been a trailblazer in the curve industry. I have a lot of respect for what she's done, but
yeah,
there's so many more models than Ashley. And it's not her. It's these casting directors.
Yeah, it's not her. That's true.
People empower that, like, okay, well, Ashley, she checks that box off, but like, no, like, so it was refreshing. I mean, I don't know if you guys know who Paloma Alcester is. She's another amazing Afro-Latina that has graced the covers of Vogue. She's been on the cover of British Vogue, American Vogue, Vogue Mexico, Voguerabia. She actually covered Voguerabia with Ashley Graham. Yeah. So she's also like paving the way for women of color, both Black women and Latina women. So just like seeing this shift is amazing. And to have, Vanessa, a model from Natural Models LA, be part of that change. And like, it really is like so huge for her to cover Vogue during such a critical time in fashion. So I hope, that's my goal, is like that we keep going with this change and this representation, and that it doesn't stop, and that we introduce newer faces into these spaces. Because again, casting directors get so, I don't know, like they just choose the same girls over and over. And I'm like, I've seen Gigi Hadid and Bella Hadid in every single campaign. Like, when are we gonna do something else? Like, I love them, but like, come on. Like, there's so many other talented models. Like, there's enough to go around.
That's what I want to tell anybody who listens, anybody who follows. Like, like you said, when we give opportunities to these people, it's not because they're not talented. Obviously, they're beyond talented. But, besides starting this podcast, like, I left the fashion industry almost as soon as I entered it. I styled and did all these shoots, but when it came to, like, I represented a lot of brands and things like that. And when it came to, like, paying for my work, I left the industry. And, talking about, your friend landing the cover of Vogue and things like that, it makes me tear up because, I always felt like a disappointment for my parents for, like, paying for fashion school, right? Not going through with it. But back in even 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it almost seemed impossible for, like, any growth to happen. Like, I'm like a plus size Chicana, so like I felt like there was no place for me. I would go into job interviews and feel like I have the skills, but I don't have the look, like, or I would dress a certain way because, like, I had to be feminine for my curvy plus size body. So like, seeing everybody succeed now, it's like, it just makes me so emotional. I cry like all the time because I'm so proud of everybody. But I like, if seeing this and seeing all the growth, and even though I didn't succeed, as long as we're getting there now, like you said, no matter if they're doing it for publicity or, because everybody's requesting it, and just like, no matter what, like, we're still growing, and it makes me so happy. And I'm getting emotional on this podcast, but I came from down here where I felt like this podcast or anything like it, or talking about these women growing, or, plus size, forget color, plus size, color, all of this together, like, being a thing, it just amazes me.
I get emotional, girl. Like I literally cried when I saw, you know, Vanessa's cover, because I mean, for people that know our story, we really started in the industry together. I don't think either of us would be in the position we're in today if we didn't meet each other. And it just takes me back to, like, you know, we went to college together and we shared a 1-bedroom apartment, and we were broke as fuck, and like, just like, we didn't have a couch at one point either. Like, we would watch TVs on our floor, and
I shared Javi's couch. Like, I lived on Javi's couch, and I was like, I live in the city, but I like live on Javi's couch. And like, we, you know, at the time, 2009, 2010, we were coming up with like eco-friendly, which became like the biggest thing, right? Like zero waste fashion. And I'm like, we had that dream 2010, and look at what it is now. And because of where the industry was then and who they allowed into it, we didn't turn it into anything, but we were at the forefront of that industry, and nothing came of it because of who we were. And we're here in 2020, and we're going to make anything possible to allow people of color to make it in this industry, no matter how many bridges we have to build.
100%. I preach. Like, it's, I think, just to, you know, anyone listening, like, this is, you know, if you want to be in this industry, it is not an easy industry to get into. It's very cutthroat, but anything is fucking possible. Like, there is so much opportunity out there, and like, I just want, like, people to go for it, because I was scared to go for it too. Vanessa actually had to push me to speak up, and to, because I wanted to be an agent. I even had, you know, the connects of, like, you know, Vanessa's agency. She got signed before I was an agent, and I was so scared, and she helped me break into this industry. Like, I helped her build her portfolio 2 years before. So it's everything that's been happening lately for me has just been such a full circle moment. And that Vogue cover was a full circle moment for me. It was the highlight of 2020. Like, I don't know. I just look at it with so much, like I'm just so proud of that moment, because a lot of hard work went into it. And I don't, you know, I think people, obviously, they see the finished product and they're like, wow, like, and especially like where Vanessa is now, it might seem like so easy to some people that don't know that we were once without a couch and hanging out on our floor, and just enjoying each other's company, talking about our dreams. Like, that's what I go back to, is like, being in Santa Barbara. We went to UC Santa Barbara, talking about our dreams of changing the industry. Like, that, I go back to that moment, and I'm like, we're doing it, and like, it's possible, and it's not the end. It's literally just the beginning. So I'm getting emotional now too.
I'm always emotional.
What sign are you, by the way?
I'm a Virgo, but I'm Virgo because of my date of birth. I'm a Leo rising, but my moon is in Cancer, so the most emotional. And you know, like I said, I appreciate if everybody went and listened to the podcast before then, where we talk about this and supporting people and things like that, because in the podcast before then support all the artists. But like you said, you get so emotional because it's not just, you know, that's your best friend, but even like me, like hearing your story and hearing that, like I get emotional. I want to support because that's like another Chicana, right, that like has never been seen, who is succeeding, who like I can relate to, and like, I didn't have that success. I didn't have that success, but you know, because I pushed through. Like, I'm not saying it's because of me, but like I'm like, okay, like then it wasn't all wasted, because like my talent was seen, and while it wasn't seen, it was recognized with the next one, because it's like, oh yeah, Gabby was successful as this, so like this is true. It's not just once in every single one. It's once in every other one, because they're all just as amazing. It's not a flake. It's not that. It's the truth, and we should recognize them.
100%. I couldn't have said it better. I think, like you said, like it, but like I don't see anything as like, you know, like a failure. Like I just see it as like, I don't know. I'm also kind of a little bit spiritual, so like I just really see it as like, well, maybe that's just the journey you had to take, but to get you here to now what you're doing, this amazing stuff with this podcast and interviewing, you know, kind of the next generation, and you're still very much connected to this industry that you seem to really love. And I really do, like, I'm so grateful that you've invited me to be on your podcast and to share my story, but also to hear your story, because it's been great connecting with you and Javi. You guys are so sweet, and I love what you're doing, and I really hope to hear more episodes in the future.
Yeah, and as we close, Danny, it's been great as well, just sharing the stories and sharing both, you know, accomplishments from your end, and I think that's the spirit. That is the spirit of the podcast of Con Gusto, is just, you know, empowering the up and coming generation of Latinx, you know, creatives in fashion and the arts, or in the creative industries, and you know, you don't have to be up and coming. You can, you know, also be in your 30s or 40s or whatever, but you know, it's just empowering and just inspiring as well for um to see other people that look like you to be successful in their own right, and then that kind of you know, puts something in your head. It's like, oh, okay, if they can do it and they look like me, I can definitely do it as well. So yeah.
Or to
So
think like like you were saying, Javi, like, if they can do it, I can do it. And we're here now, right? 2020. To think if this would have happened 1999 to 2012, 13, 14, would we have been, like, if we had been as successful as we are now, right, in what we were doing, would we have blamed it on, like, everything going on now? Or would it be like, I'm just successful because I'm me? And you know what? Everything, like you said, happens for a reason. We all have our own energy that we emit. We all have our auras. So everything does happen for a reason. And, you know, maybe I was meant to do this. And if I could help all my Chicanos, Latinx, Chicanx to succeed, then you know what? I'm happy to be the failure you guys walk upon.
Yes. And I don't see you as a failure at all. I see you as someone succeeding and just kind of
Surviving.
changing your path, you know. That's, girl, I did not see myself here either. Like, it's, I don't even know what I was gonna do, but I did not pick, this was not in the cards for me, but here we are.
We're making it work because that's what we do, and that's why we should be hired, because we make it work.
Exactly.
I love you guys. I love all of you.
I love you. Thank you so much for having me. I really, really appreciate it. I hope to continue, you know, this conversation on our socials and just in the future. I hope to connect, and hopefully one day when there's a vaccine for the virus, we can meet in person and
If we're in New York, if I'm ever in LA.
Yes. I mean, I would have been in New York this September for Fashion Week. It's so sad, but I love New York. Side note, but I'm an LA girl at heart, but New York is also so amazing. So we will cross paths one day. I know.
I know. Like, I have never been to LA. I've never been to California. I was born and raised in Texas. I know, for some reason, that, like, if I go to LA with my people, with all the Chicanx, like, I will be at home. It just calls to my heart.
Yeah, LA is beautiful. There's so much culture here. It's amazing.
I'm like, oh, there's all these people that speak Spanish. What?
Yeah, there is. It's
Even
amazing.
the white people speak Spanish.
They do. They know. They be knowing. I'm like, okay, go off. Your linguistic teacher went off.
I love it. That's what we need. All right, guys, thank you so much. Now, Danny, where can everybody find you?
So I'm on Instagram at Gabriel Danny. So Gabriel's actually my first name. Danny's my middle name. I go a little bit more by Danny. I just think it's more fun. And then on Twitter, I'm also at Gabriel Danny _. As well, you can follow at Natural Models LA. And if anyone here listening is interested in becoming a model, you can submit online at naturalmodelsla.com. We're always looking for new talent. I get questions all the time. What are you looking for? There is no specific thing we're looking for. We're looking for the next faces of the future, and that anything goes. The industry's changing every single day.
I want to see a double chin next.
Okay.
Guys, submit your double chin.
And short models too. Like, we have a girl that's 5'2". Like, fuck those height requirements.
Oh, no. Well, you know what? And that's also another thing. I was looking through everything. Thank you for reminding me. You guys post hair color and eye color, and that is it. There is no height. There is no weight. There is nothing else but that. So I appreciate that so much.
Thank you. There actually is more measurements on the desktop version. You were probably on mobile.
I'm on my mobile.
But we don't post weight. We just post height and other stuff.
Because that's what's important.
It is helpful for when a stylist is pulling your stuff. They do need your measurements. That's the only reason it's on there. Other than that, we don't give a fuck about your measurements. We care more about
the honesty.
Your personality, your look, and your vibe. So thank you. Like I said, thank you so much for having me. I hope you both have an amazing rest of your day. And anyone listening, I hope y'all have a great rest of your day too. We're going to continue thriving in 2020, even though we're in a pandemic.
Perfect. And guys, like Danny said, his Instagram is Gabriel Danny, which is GABRIELDANNY. You could also see that cover of Vogue as his second post. It is so beautiful. There is a beautiful jawline that is realistic. Go follow him. What are you waiting for?
My girl has some cheeks. I love it.
And you can follow Con Gusto at Con Gusto Pod. And you'll get all the updates. And thank you guys so much for listening and paying attention and, wanting to grow our community. Please follow all of us and wait for the next episode. If you haven't listened to the previous episodes, go listen. They're all amazing, all talented artists and creatives. I can't wait to talk to you guys again. Have a good day.